Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I'm here with Kevin O'Sullivan. You watch us together on The Political Asylum with Kevin O'Sullivan. And we have some pretty exciting content for you this Thursday that we'll tease a little bit later. But first, I want to talk to you, Kevin.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the latest, and trust me, this one's juicy. Kinsey Schofield, royal expert and media commentator, just took a blowtorch to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, calling out their endless victimhood act.
About Justine Bateman, the Hollywood gift that keeps on giving. Do you remember a few weeks ago when she called Prince Harry and Meghan Markle disaster tourists?
Yes, I do. And ambulance chasers when Meghan and Harry turned up to Los Angeles while the fires were still going on and acted like everybody wanted them to be there. But in fact, Justine Bateman leading the charge for Angelenos, people who live in Los Angeles, the citizens of that great city, who were just furious, just you two just cashing in just for a kind of publicity picture. Aren't we wonderful visiting the victims? It was a very sad spectacle, a horrible sight to see, and Justine Bateman was quite right. She called them disaster tourists and ambulance chasers. Others called them tragedy vultures. They were right. They were just cashing in. Really sick to see.
Well, Justine's had some additional thoughts on Harry and Meghan. I think specifically Meghan's new show has inspired her a little bit. And she wrote on her Substack, the problem with Meghan Markle and her husband, Harry, is that every opportunity they have explored or exploited over the past few years has been due to their aggressive Victim Olympics campaign. And she said the difference between doing that 2 years ago and doing it now is immense. In 2025, no one wants to see victims anymore. No one wants to watch someone play act at something they didn't earn. Adding that she has even created the couple's own gold medal. Like she created a graphic of for the Victimhood Olympics for them.
From bombshell interviews to their Netflix deal flopping, it looks like the public is over the Victimhood Olympics. Is this the beginning of the end for Harry and Meghan's Hollywood fairy tale? Let's break it all down. So, Kinsey Schofield recently went off on the Sussexes, saying the world is tired of their sob stories.
I know that she is getting a lot of attention for this. And she tries to say, look, if Meghan Markle wants to do a cooking show, God bless her. But I do think she's calling out why a lot of Americans are over Prince Harry and Meghan. And I always felt like this would inevitably be the case because in America, we're very much like, get up and do it again, get up and try it again. You know, we're not typically the type that wallow in self-pity, but Harry and Meghan found a really great time to launch that campaign and it worked for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know Justine Bateman. She, of course, was in Family Ties, but she strikes me as a very smart woman, very perceptive. She's exactly right. She's exactly right that when Meghan and Harry started off on their road, leaving Britain, coming to America, it was different times. In those days, you could say, oh, I'm a victim, everybody's out to get me, everybody hates me, I'm the victim of racism. And such was the culture then that we all went, oh, you poor thing, you're a victim. In that case, I really love you, I really support you. Now, Justine is right that since then, since they came to the States, what Meghan has failed to notice is that times have changed. This is Trump's America. This is Trump's world, for God's sake. And we don't like victims anymore. We think victims are pathetic. They're whiners. Stop moaning about yourself. And as you say, show a bit of American spirit and just get on with your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does feel like the victimhood narrative is something that she actively pursues. She was basking in it during the Harry and Meghan Netflix series. She really enjoyed you could tell she really enjoyed telling the story, and she loved that she was having the opportunity to rehash all of this negativity that you'd think that as somebody that had quote unquote fled the British royal family, you would try to be truly escaping versus sitting there just reliving it in front of multiple cameras and strangers and someone else's house for Netflix.
Yeah.
But what I really quickly want to say is I'm sorry if she felt that there was racism towards her, but it is hard for regular people to accept her stories going forward after seeing how extreme that Harry and Meghan describe everything: near catastrophic car chase. We got married a few days before, because they've been caught in so many, I think you guys call them porcupines. It's hard for people to process what she says as truth, and only the truth going forward. There is cynicism.
Yeah, the high-speed Manhattan car chase, which apparently went along at the speed of about 8 miles an hour. You remember the mayor of New York going, high-speed car chase in Manhattan? Whoever saw that? That you can't go at a high speed in Manhattan. But it's another example of them saying, look at us, we're victims. We're victims of the evil paparazzi, of the evil media that chase us everywhere we go. Well, they don't really, and they didn't in Manhattan, as the mayor and the chief of police pointed out. They basically said, we think they're making this story up, or that they're exaggerating this story. Classic of those two. Everything is depressing. Everything is negative. You know, why can't she accentuate the positive for once? I mean, for God's sake.
We should talk about that, because I think that's why people are having a hard time accepting With Love Meghan. This stark contrast from the negative space she's been in for the last 5 years. Talk to me about that.
Well, exactly. You know, she's giving us this sob story about the victimhood that she suffered. Everybody thinks, you know, everybody subjects her to terrible racism, and the royal family were horrible to her. And then she came over to America and didn't like Donald Trump, and doesn't like the right wing, and hopes that the Democrats can be in charge, and all this kind of stuff. You know, as if she's having a terrible life. I mean, in Britain, she lived in palaces. She jet-setted around the world in private jets. Everybody served her, you know, like said, servants everywhere. Didn't have to lift a finger. Comes to America, moves into, what is it, a $15 million mansion with 19 bathrooms, fantastic gardens, yard, amazing swimming pool, everything you could possibly want, tennis courts. And she says she's having a tough life. Give me a break. Do me a favour. I'm sick of it, you know. And so then all of a sudden, there's this volte-face, this massive U-turn, and it's With Love Meghan. Hey, isn't everything fantastic? Look, I'm making ladybird-shaped canapes, and I'm freezing edible flowers into ice cubes. Everything's great now. Ha, ha, ha. It's all my paid-for friends and the staff I'm making food for. Isn't it smashing? Well, people will take one look at this. They're looking at this and saying, is this the same woman who's been complaining and moaning for 5 years? Suddenly she's very, very happy, living a lovely life. What are we supposed to believe? You can't believe anything of her. Everything seems to be fake. It seems to be a fraud.
Extreme. One extreme or the other.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's why With Love, one of the reasons With Love Meghan is failing, the sense of fakery around it. And the other reason is that we've discussed many times, well, actually there's a lot of reasons, but the other main reason is it is catastrophically, breathtakingly boring. It is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's why hardly anyone is watching it. That's why it wasn't commissioned for a second series. They'd already filmed one. And that's why Netflix is almost certain all set to cancel the Sussexes contract, their $100 million contract. So again, a different story. She's celebrating. Isn't it great? I'm getting a second series. Oh, Netflix loved me. The real story is Netflix are cancelling the contract.
Yeah, the real story is you don't like all the negative headlines, and so you throw grain waffles up on Instagram and to distract people. Did you see the new theory that the waffles she posted aren't even the same waffles that you see her making because the creases are different? I'm like, whoa. Either way, they're hideous. Okay, either way, they're unedible to me. They're unappetizing or edible to me.
And that's why people aren't biting.
What was it, by the way? I mean, he had a greeny... It's like I said last night on my show when you were on, that it looked like someone had been sick on the plate. Just this kind
Tracy
of green
Morgan,
stuff. Yeah, I mean, what was it supposed to be, by the way? What was that? It was just horrible looking. But it proves...
It had a kiwi mouth, blueberry eyes, and then whipped cream hair. Yeah, but I don't know who it's supposed to be.
But it proves to Kinsey that she just doesn't have an eye for nice food, you know, as proved in With Love, Meghan, you know, single skillet spaghetti and things like that. I mean, it sounded all right, but I mean, hardly Epicurean food, was it? All the dishes seemed so ordinary. My favourite, as I said to you last week, was the yogurt parfait, which was shop-bought yogurt with a few raspberries thrown on top. That's not yogurt parfait, or yoghurt as we call it in Britain. That's just yoghurt with a few raspberries chucked on the top of it. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, it just tells us that Prince Harry must stop and applaud at everything she does. You know, the living room's been picked up on a Thursday. Everybody stop and acknowledge that Meghan has done a huge service to the household. Like, it just tells me that Harry just like... it fawns over everything. But we'll get into Harry and Meghan's relationship here in a second. But I want to talk, we've kind of talked about how there are these extremes. Meghan's all over the place. I think that here's another example of that with her new podcast, which instead of going the lifestyle route, which I would have if I were about to launch a lifestyle brand where you could buy tangible products that I'm trying to push, Meghan has decided to make an entrepreneurial podcast where she talks about the build of her brand, which to me, it's just a way for her to try to, again, distract from how thoroughly she has screwed up throughout this process. We thought this was American Riviera Orchard for a year. It suddenly, 2 weeks before launch, became As Ever. I told you that she just resubmitted some trademark paperwork without her signature, got kicked back to her again. I think that she's realizing that there are so many people calling out her screw-ups that she thinks, oh, well, I'll just do this podcast and it'll be another way for me to distract from all of the errors I'm making, or I can try to talk them away in this podcast to justify them. But the reality is this sounds like as boring as the fake cooking show.
Yeah, the thing about Meghan is that all of her ideas are stolen. You know, so you know, she's trying to be Martha Stewart with Love, Meghan. And with this podcast, I mean, she's the latest of many people to do this. And there are a few quite successful podcasts involving successful business people interviewing other successful business people about the secret of the success in the business world. A lot of people interested in that kind of stuff, but these people are good presenters. These people have a heritage, are established successful business people themselves.